You get invited out. Again, it's a birthday dinner, a team hangout, a cousin's engagement party. You stare at the message. You like these people. They're not toxic. They're not cruel. And still, your chest tightens. You imagine the noise, the small talk, the smiling, the subtle pressure to perform a version of yourself that fits the room. And you think, I'd rather stay home. Immediately, guilt follows. What's wrong with me? Am I antisocial? Am I becoming disconnected from the world? If you don't socialize much, you've probably wrestled with that silent accusation. Society treats frequent socializing as proof of emotional health. The more connected you are, the more normal you must be. But what if your low social pattern isn't dysfunction? What if it's selective energy paired with inner complexity? Today, we're going to unpack what's really happening in your psychology. Not to justify isolation, not to romanticize loneliness, but to understand the deeper mechanism behind why some people keep their social worlds small. And by the end, you won't just feel understood. You'll know exactly how to design a social life that fits your nervous system instead of fighting it. Let's start with a reframe. You're not avoiding people because you hate connection. You're avoiding overstimulation. There's a difference. Some brains are built like open windows. They let everything in, but they're not deeply affected. Other brains are more like high-resolution cameras. They don't just capture the scene. They capture every micro-expression. If you're someone who doesn't socialize much, you likely have that high-resolution nervous system. Psychologists call this trait sensory processing sensitivity. It doesn't mean fragile. It means your brain processes social and emotional data more deeply. When you walk into a room, you're not just hearing voices, you're tracking energy. You're predicting reactions, you're monitoring your own behavior, you're analyzing how you're coming across. That's a lot of cognitive load. For you, socializing isn't just talking. It's simultaneous data processing. Now here's where the conflict starts. You want connection. You crave depth. You want someone who sees you. But the way most social environments are structured, loud, fast, shallow, performative, feels exhausting. So you pull back. And from the outside, it looks like withdrawal. Inside, it feels like protection. There's a concept in psychology called emotional bandwidth. Think of it like your daily battery. Some people have a battery that drains slowly during interaction. Yours drains faster because it's powering more internal processes. It's not about introversion alone. Introversion is about where you gain energy. Selective socialization is about how intensely you process interaction. You might replay conversations long after they end. You might notice subtle rejection cues that others miss. You might feel responsible for keeping conversations balanced. That's inner complexity at work. Your brain's default mode network, the system active during introspection, is likely highly engaged. You spend a lot of time thinking, reflecting, imagining, analyzing. Your internal world is rich. So when someone says, "Why are you so quiet?" it doesn't land lightly. You're not empty. You're full. Full of thoughts, full of interpretations, full of inner dialogue. And here's the twist. Because your inner world is stimulating, external social stimulation can feel redundant or overwhelming. You don't need constant external input. You already have a running internal narrative. But there's a danger here. If you lean too far into solitude, your brain can start to interpret safety as isolation. Avoidance feels good in the short term. No pressure, no overstimulation. But over time, the comfort zone shrinks. You stop attending gatherings, you stop initiating. You tell yourself, "I'm just not a social person." And slowly, connection becomes something that happens to other people. That's the conflict arc many selective social individuals face. You protect your energy so well that you accidentally protect yourself from growth. So what do we do about this? First, we separate two things: intentional solitude and avoidance-based isolation. Intentional solitude restores you. Avoidance-based isolation is driven by anxiety or fear of depletion. Ask yourself before declining an invitation, am I saying no because I need rest or because I'm anticipating discomfort? If it's rest, honor it. Guilt-free. If it's fear, that's your growth edge. Second, stop trying to socialize like everyone else. High-intensity social environments might not be your arena, and that's okay. Design your social life around depth, not frequency. Instead of 5 acquaintances, invest in one meaningful conversation a week. Instead of loud parties, suggest walks, coffee, shared projects. You're not antisocial, you're depth-oriented. Third, manage stimulation proactively. Before a social event, regulate your nervous system. Take 10 minutes alone, slow your breathing. Reduce sensory input. During the event, give yourself micro-exits. Step outside, go to the bathroom, reset. Afterward, schedule decompression time. Don't stack events back to back. This isn't being dramatic, it's nervous system management. Fourth, challenge the identity story. Be careful with the label, "I'm just not social." Your brain believes the stories you repeat. Instead, try, "I'm selective with my energy. I prefer meaningful interaction. I socialize differently." Subtle shift, massive psychological impact. If you felt misunderstood, dismissed, or out of place growing up, you may have learned that blending in is safer than being fully seen. You keep your circle small because small feels controllable. That makes sense. Your nervous system adapted. But adulthood gives you something childhood didn't: choice. You can choose environments that match your values. You can choose people who appreciate your depth. You can practice revealing yourself gradually, instead of all at once. Connection doesn't have to mean exposure. There's also a cognitive factor. Many selectively social people are multi-potentialite thinkers. You're interested in many ideas. You live in abstract thought. Surface-level conversation feels like eating plain rice when your brain craves a complex meal, so you disengage. The solution isn't to force yourself to enjoy small talk. It's to use small talk as a bridge. Ask, "What got you into that? What was that like for you?" Depth often hides behind simple questions. And here's a practical structure you can use. I call it the 30-30-30 method. 30% listening, 30% sharing, 30% curiosity. When you feel yourself withdrawing, check which percentage you've dropped. Are you over-listening and under-sharing? Are you sharing but not asking? Balanced engagement reduces the mental load because you're not carrying the entire interaction. Now, a warning. If your lack of socializing is accompanied by persistent sadness, hopelessness, or severe anxiety, that's different. That may signal depression or social anxiety disorder. In those cases, professional support matters. Selective energy is healthy. Chronic fear is not. Be honest with yourself. There's strength in solitude. But humans are wired for some degree of connection. Your brain releases oxytocin and dopamine during safe interaction. Those chemicals regulate stress and support mental health. You don't need many people, but you do need some. And maybe the real shift isn't becoming more social, it's becoming more intentional. Imagine this. Instead of dreading invitations, you evaluate them. Instead of isolating automatically, you choose strategically. Instead of labeling yourself as distant, you see yourself as discerning. That's empowerment. You're not broken because you don't crave constant social stimulation. You're wired for depth. But depth doesn't grow in total isolation. It grows in selective connection. So here's your challenge this week. Choose one interaction. Just one. Low pressure, high alignment. A friend who respects your quiet. A colleague who enjoys thoughtful conversation. A sibling who actually listens. Show up as yourself. Not louder. Not smaller. Just real. Notice how your body feels before, during, and after. Track your energy. Learn your patterns. Self-awareness is your superpower. Use it. And when guilt creeps in because you're not as socially active as others, remember this. You're not here to match someone else's nervous system. You're here to understand yours. The psychology of people who don't socialize much isn't about deficiency. It's about complexity. It's about a brain that processes deeply, feels intensely, and guards its energy carefully. The goal isn't to become someone else. It's to build a life where your selective energy becomes wisdom instead of withdrawal. where your inner world coexists with meaningful outer connection, where solitude restores you and relationships expand you. You don't have to choose one. And if this resonated, stay curious about yourself. That curiosity is the beginning of emotional intelligence. Keep learning how your mind works. Keep designing your life around truth instead of pressure. You're not antisocial. You're selective. And when you learn to work with that instead of against it, connection stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like a choice.